What's going on, guys? My name is Nukeman2026 and welcome back to another top 5, and today I got a really interesting one for you guys, which is the top 5 things you might not have known in Black Ops 2 Zombies Mob of the Dead. Now, this is kind of categorized from 5 to 1, by 5 being the one that you probably most likely know, all the way down to 1, which is the thing that most people probably do not know. So if you guys do enjoy today's video, please don't forget to drop that like. I actually really enjoy this top 5 and I hope you guys enjoy it with me. So without further ado, let's get into our number 5 spot, which is going to be the fact that if you go down to the shock rooms, I think it's in the Citadel tunnels, and you enter 115 in the shock box, it actually, the numbers translate to 666, which is the reason why people speculated, I believe at least, that the devil is controlling the zombies, because other than their red eyes, if you came down here, entered 115, it translated to 666, and you got like a little audio cue of what seemed like the devil saying, "I don't think so." Also, if you enter 666, just plain 666 into the box, it will the whole thing will turn off and you cannot use it for the rest of the game, or so I believe. It's a really interesting speculation, but without further ado, let's get into our number 4 spot. And in today's video, this is going to be the actual 4 escapists in the real Alcatraz in real life and how this relates to Mob of the Dead. So if you actually come down to this cell right here after you have pack-a-punched at the bridge, or just at least gone to the bridge once, you throw your tomahawk at the poster that reveals a hole, and this actually resembles the hole that one of the 4 prisoners had dug through their wall with a spork, or I think it's actually a spoon, not a spork, but that is why you get the golden spork in Mob of the Dead, because this whole thing symbolizes how the 4 people escaped. So first of all, the hole in the wall, the poster, it all represents how the people had dug their way out of their cell by putting a poster in front of a hole, and at night when all the guards were sleeping, they would dig a hole behind the poster and crawl out. Now once you go into Afterlife, you can go, back towards in the back of the cell, I guess, behind the wall of the cell where you shock the spoon. Now this actually has a lot of information as well about the 4 escapists. First of all, the spoon on the floor that you shock is actually because what happened was the 4 prisoners, once they crawled out of their cell, they used these like bars and pipes to climb up to the top of Alcatraz. They climbed up to the roof, and before they did that, they set all 4 of their spoons down, actually all 3 of their spoons down, and head towards the top of Alcatraz. Now also, as you can see, to the left of the spoon is actually a cloth, a piece of cloth that looks like, a piece of clothing, and that is because what the prisoners did is every night, I don't know if it was every night or if it was just in general, but one of the people had a job which was down in the showers to collect raincoats and just a bunch of rubber material. And what they would do is they would steal the raincoats and steal all this, rubber-like material, and then carry it up to the roof, because that would make for a boat, if you know what I mean, like they put all the raincoats together, it kind of forms, a floating boat, or at least that's what they hoped. And so that's why they brought all that cloth and raincoats up to the ceiling, or the roof, I mean, sorry about that. And that is why there is a clothing right next to the spoon, because that is what it's hinting towards. Now above the clothing there is actually a skull, and I think what I believe that represents is that only 3 of the 4 prisoners had gotten out. The 3rd one could not dig a hole enough in his cell big enough to climb through, but the other 3 did, and that is why there is a skull there, because the guy who wasn't able to make his way out ended up dying in his cell. So that is why there is a skull right there. So let's move on to our number 3 spot, and this is actually really interesting. I did not find this out until a little while ago yesterday, but if you paid attention to the Mob of the Dead intro cutscene, Billy announces the beginning of the escape procedure, that it starts at 9:35, which is obviously 935, group 935, so take a listen.
9:35, the Weasel launches into a song and dance routine.
Damn it, Arlo.
Now, though, this is very interesting because if you take a look at this image on screen, which is the San Diego, I don't know what it says right now because I'm not looking at the picture, but basically when Treyarch was going to release, you know, the Shadows of Evil, when they were announcing it, they had a book sitting on the table and they had a Mob of the Dead picture sitting next to it. But if you can see at the very top right above the book, there is an image, or not an image, just like a picture of the group 935 symbol, and that's really interesting. And I don't know how Mob of the Dead exactly ties in with group 935, but also if you go down to the room where the Shocker is in the Citadel tunnels and you enter 935, it plays a song, I believe, and that's also really weird because there's a lot of references to group 935, and that kind of makes me wonder, like, what does 935 have to do with Mob of the Dead? So without further ado, let's move on to our number 2 spot, and that is actually all the dogs in Mob of the Dead require 6 zombies to be fed. Now, I mean, I think we all knew that these dogs had to be fed. That wasn't my point. My point was that each dog needs to be fed 6 zombies, and in order to go back in its little hell portal, there are 3 dogs around the map. Therefore, it makes the number 666, which, as you may know, is the number of the beast. I hope this wasn't a too quick video for you guys, but I really wanted to make this. I thought this was going to be a really awesome video. We are already at our number 1 spot, which is going to be Cell 14D. So before I explain anything, take a look at this DLC trailer, a chunk of this DLC trailer that Treyarch had released to the public for, I think it was, yeah, their DLC 2, which had Mob of the Dead in it, and this is when they first announced Mob of the Dead, so take a listen.
We're embracing this idea of horror thriller. So then we went to Alcatraz.
So yes, I slowed down the video for you guys so you could see the slight thing that they literally popped on screen for like half of a millisecond, which was this image up on screen. Now basically, if you are not familiar of what this picture is, what the teddy bear is in, not the teddy bear that is important, it's the actual room, and this cell is actually called Cell 14D. And the legend behind this, and the reason why, the most likely reason why the zombies' eyes are red in Mob of the Dead is because of a prisoner that was sentenced to Cell 14D. Now, so basically, if you're not familiar with Cell 14D, this cell is actually used in Alcatraz for the worst of the worst criminals that are sent to Alcatraz. Only one prisoner is sent into this cell, not any more than one can be in the cell, and it is literally for the worst of the worst prisoners. And basically, they lock you in this ginormous dark cell, and you sit there by yourself in the dark, I believe, and you are not let out for a few days. So basically, what happened is one prisoner was sent to Cell 14D, and not too long after he was in there, he started screaming non-stop for 7 straight hours, guys. 7 hours. Just imagine that. Screaming for 7 straight hours. This is just to try to imagine 1 hour of just straight screaming, and now try and imagine 7 full hours of screaming. And the reason why he was screaming and he shouted this out as he was kind of screaming is that he noticed or felt an appearance of this man that was in the cell room with him, and he had red eyes. And this man claimed that the man was hurting him. Whoever this red-eyed creature was that was in the cell with him was hurting him, and he was, you know, shouting, "Get him off me, you know, help me, help me," you know. He's banging on the door as he's screaming because this man, this mysterious creature that was in there with him, you know, with the red eyes, was, I guess, killing him. And after about 3 days, the guards, you know, because they ignored his screams, they didn't care, you know, that's for the worst, you know, the screaming is expected, you know, it's like an insane asylum. So after about 3 days, they went into his cell, they opened the door to find him dead on the floor with red markings around his neck. And after scientific proof, this is actually confirmed that he did not strangle himself, because the way he was strangled is that the body cannot do that to itself, basically, is what I'm trying to say. The body is not able to physically strangle itself like that, like the way the marks were on his body. Like his neck was snapped, and you know, the body cannot do this, and this is scientifically proven that this was a homicide and this was not a suicide. And let me mention again that no more than one person was in there. So they didn't let 2 people in the cell. There was only one person in the cell. So this is a ginormous mystery that still remains the date, and it's honestly the creepiest thing I have ever known. But you know, it only gives me nightmares every single night. But you know what, it's fine. That is not scary whatsoever. I don't even know what you're talking about. So I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. I know this is creepy, the ambiance is creepy, what I've been telling you for the top 5 is creepy, this song is creepy, everything was creepy. But I hope you guys did enjoy today's video, and if you did, why not subscribe for more Black Ops 2 zombie top 5s? I do release top 5s every single Tuesday, so don't forget to stay tuned. And if you did enjoy today's video, a like would also be very much appreciated. You see my Fallout boy, you see him like this video because he is badass and you are awesome. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.